So there was another interview, apparently, Andrew Tate and Piers Morgan, and I'm assuming Piers Morgan really likes Andrew Tate right now because Andrew Tate gave him a shit ton of viewership. Gotta milk that cow while you can. Honestly, look, I ain't complaining. Good for him, good for both of them, whatever. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's something that I can watch now for the next 46 minutes, which would probably turn it into a 2 hour of reaction. So let's just get it started.
Uncensored. Have you ever heard of Mr. Beast? What about PewDiePie?
Yeah.
How about Keemstar, Logan Paul, Jake Paul? The answer might well be no. You haven't heard of them. But if you've got kids, you will definitely have heard of them. And they most certainly have. They're just a tiny handful of the legions of digital personalities whose videos are viewed by literally billions of young people across the world. Their endorsements are worth millions in sales. Their opinions can instantly reshape conversations in schools, universities, and across...
Oh god, their opinions can reshape money. Like, they can, just by saying something, some shares might drop from a company or some shares might increase by a company. Like, it's crazy how much power YouTube personalities have. It's fucked up.
Across social media, they're more influence than most musicians, soap stars, sports stars, columnists, lawmakers. But unlike those power brokers of the past, the politicians and cultural stars who could set the social agenda, these people seem to exist in a parallel universe. Their views go largely unchallenged, shared only as bite-sized clips. Their digital businesses often operate beyond the scrutiny of normal journalists and even regulators. They wield massive influence over young people, and they're restricted only by the ever-changing whims of big tech companies. It makes no more sense than senators or secretaries of state.
It's kind of fun, like, who's really in control, the creators or the tech companies that allow them? Because take Dr. Disrespect, for example. You know, his platform shrunk a lot, so his influence shrunk a lot just because Twitch decided for one thing or another to ban him. I still don't know why they banned him. I don't know if he actually revealed that information, but it's like, yeah, Twitch just decided to ban Dr. Disrespect, and like, boom, his influence just like dropped almost tenfold. Imagine YouTube just bans PewDiePie out of nowhere. At this point, I don't think PewDiePie would care, and honestly, I don't even know how much influence PewDiePie has now, aside from he's like still probably the biggest YouTuber. But like, imagine they just drop somebody whose opinion matters, right? Somebody who can actually, like, Mr. Beast. They just completely drop Mr. Beast, right? And it's like, you know, he has his own businesses as well. He's still gonna make money and stuff, but it's like, you can completely ruin his internet career, right? Just like that, right?
Simply never appearing on television. Well, my guest tonight is a perfect case in point, an example of both enormous digital conquest and the risks that come with it. He's Andrew Tate. His last interview with me has so far been viewed, well, over 8 million times on YouTube alone, 17 million times across all platforms, which is staggering.
You're welcome.
For someone who perhaps you're watching and thinking, who is Andrew Tate? It was a robust exchange. And Andrew Tate was here because he'd effectively been kicked off the mainstream internet for supposed misogyny. His tirades against women were viewed literally billions of times. Well, the first time around, I wanted to find out if he deserved to be banned and if he ever actually crossed a line from shocking opinions to...
No, the thing is, to an extent, there are not even to an extent. Some of his beliefs are misogynistic, but I would say majority of them are common sense. You know,
you in hate speech, or if he just didn't fit the ideal model of the platforms that censored him. Let's go through some.
Sure.
Right? Do you think women are the property of men?
No. The point I was making...
Why have you said they are?
Because I made a religious point.
Authority implies that you have the ability to control someone.
No, authority implies that I have the moral right to sit and say that that's an irresponsible thing to do and I'm responsible for...
That's not what authority means. I don't want to interrupt you.
The whole authority one was a bit weird. So here's the thing. This is the way I view it, right? The way I think Andrew also views it. If you're in a relationship, okay, there are certain boundaries you do not cross with the other person in the relationship. When that person tells you, listen, I don't want you going out at 2 a.m., you know, like that was the argument they were saying. I don't want you going out 2 a.m. because it's dangerous. I don't want to go with you. I don't think you should. But it's like, he's not going to stop her. But if she keeps doing things like this that he doesn't like, the relationship is over. he's not gonna control her. You can put this, I mean, it's like he's blackmailing her with the relationship status. That's not. Relationship at the end of the day is a deal, okay? It's a partnership, it's a deal, it doesn't matter, it's a business transaction, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, if one party doesn't respect the other party, this relationship is not going to work and you might as well quit. That's pretty much the way I see it. I think a lot of men see it that way. It's a very logical way of thinking about it. But, you know, men are way more logical beings, while women, I'm sorry, this might sound misogynistic, but women are more emotional beings. Like, and it's fine. Like, it's not a bad thing, it's not a good thing. But a lot of men would view a relationship more of a transaction, not like for money or anything like that, but it's like time investment, what this relationship brings to the table, what they get out of it, like what they offer to it, stuff like that. It's very mathematical, logical, you know, calculation when you go into a relationship, like a serious relationship. Marrying a woman is like, it's very rational decision, not just emotional, right? And I don't think a lot of women are thinking about these things as rationally as that, you know, at least like not innately.
I just want to point out that's not what authority means.
If someone gives, a person can give
voluntary authority is not authority.
No, but that's the point. If
it's
a
not.
woman, Piers.
Andrew, it's not.
And this is the thing that's interesting, Piers. Please let me finish.
No, but you're behaving like a politician. Yeah, but hang on. You can say I'm interrupting.
You do.
But you're answering a different question to the one I asked you.
Fine.
No. You're weaponizing the weaponizing, which doesn't exist.
No problem. If someone comes to me and says I'm clinically depressed or I feel very, very sad, I would say the first thing you need to do is stop accepting the identity of a clinically depressed person.
And this part about the depression, now again, there is such a thing as clinically depressed and all that stuff. However, what I agree with Tate here is it's not that it doesn't exist, it's that it's not out of your control. And I think that's where the communication part was kind of problematic. Depression, most times, not those who are like clinically, you know, manic depressed, okay? And not those ones, but people who are like, oh, I'm feeling down today, or like, oh, my girlfriend broke up with me and I'm depressed for like whatever amount of time. Those ones, like those situations, you are not depressed. You're sad, but it's within your control, right? Being able to do things within your control. If you let that sadness overwhelm you and you just swallow in it instead of taking action and distracting yourself basically and focusing on other things so you don't have time to be depressed, that is a pretty good solution to a lot of people's depression. I'm not saying this is the ultimate solution. I'm not saying this is not medical advice, right? Still see a doctor if it lasts for too long and shit like that, yeah. But what he's saying is not exactly wrong. And also, I want to say about 15 to 20 years ago, a lot of doctors would recommend physical activity for depression. Now, I don't know, because now we like the pills a lot more.
Stop accepting you have no control over this.
Andrew, you're simply wrong.
If that's what you believe, Piers, it's fine. I don't believe in things that take power away.
There is not an eminent doctor in the world
Piers,
who would agree with you.
Piers,
do you think you know more than doctors?
I can't become clinically depressed.
Why do you know?
Because I don't believe in it.
It's a lively stuff. I also wasn't sure if I should be interviewing him at all. If he was so unpleasant, as so many people said, well, why extend his profile and give him a platform? But the fact is that ship had already sailed. Every teenager in the country knows Andrew Tate.
Yep.
It's just a lot of the parents who don't. And since that interview, Andrew has been returned to Twitter. Its new owner, Elon Musk, is determined to protect free speech online. Many young people, especially boys, have literally stopped me in the street since that first interview to ask me about Andrew Tate. I'm staggered, honestly, by the response.
They don't care about you. Can you imagine? It's like it's your show, but people are asking you about somebody else on your show. It's like, hey, so you met Andrew Tate, right? It's like, yeah, but I'm Piers Morgan. Yeah, but Andrew Tate.
About society, that people like Andrew Tate can reach so many more people than conventional stars or journalists even.
I would say many young boys and many men like Andrew Tate, because he's not saying, there are the stuff that he says that are like extremely out there and extremely like, you know, too extreme for most people's beliefs, but it is entertaining. and a lot of times people understand where the sarcasm kicks in, where it's like, okay, this is a bit too much. But a lot of the things Andrew Tate says, aside from it being entertaining, are not completely wrong. There are things, obviously, that he's like, you know, don't agree with, but a lot of things I would agree on, you know?
Is, and whether people like Andrew Tate cross it. Are they part of a poorly understood movement that panders to teenage rebellion like punk rock or pornography? Or are we exposing young people to new and damaging experiences we often don't see and don't understand? It's a whole new world. There are more questions about it than answers, and we're not going to answer them by pretending it doesn't exist. Well, Andrew Tate joins me again now. Andrew, good to see you.
Salam alaikum, Piers.
Good to see you. I've genuinely been amazed by the reaction I've had in the streets. Not just here, but I went to Qatar for the World Cup, had the same thing there. A lot of people coming up about Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously, but also a lot of people coming up about you. And they were almost exclusively men, young men, who genuinely see you as a role model, as somebody who inspires them, as somebody they want to be like.
Yep.
So that made me think, the first interview you had was quite combative. The second time, a shorter interview, less so. I want to try and work out, in this one, who you are, because it struck me as extraordinary that Google this week revealed some stats for the year. The number one person whose name followed people Google searching who is in 2022 was Andrew Tate.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable. I think there's a whole swath of the population, especially young men, that feel disenfranchised.
Yep.
They feel disenfranchised with the media machine and the things they're supposed to believe. They don't feel an affinity with the educational systems or the culture. And they look at...
And again, I don't even think that this is like... He's just there at a good time. I'm not saying like he's saying anything that many other people didn't say before, right? And I wouldn't say he's the leader in the movement that he's making. He lives like basically Dan Bilzerian, and he has a good head on his shoulders, and he's self-sufficient, and there are no like stuff that like he scammed people or anything like that. Maybe he did, I don't know, but like there's nothing like that out there. And also a lot of young men feel attacked right now by what they're taught in school, right? What you see on the media with the liberals and all that stuff. And again, I'm not against liberals. I'm against a lot of things that they do, but also conservatives do a lot of things that I don't agree with, you know, like abortion, for all I care, I don't care, you know, it's like, let them have abortion, right? It's like shit like that. It's like, I don't care about this. These things don't matter to me, right? But a lot of men do feel attacked. A lot of men feel like they can't act like men, and not saying like, you know, being sexual aggressors or anything like that, but they can't, like a lot of young men are afraid to just like talk to girls or touch them by mistake inappropriately, and then it's like it's a whole fucking scene for the rest of their lives, and it's on their fucking records. Like, it's not worth. And obviously this is not the actual case that actually happens, but what happens is it's portrayed as if it happens, right? And like young men are just don't want to deal with it. It's like, why would I want to deal with it? And all these like gold diggers that are now like you see online, stuff like that's like, well, now they're assuming every girl is a gold digger, right? And every girl just wants you for your money, and every girl just wants this, and a lot of girls that do OnlyFans are, you know, sluts and all that stuff, right? It's like all this information, and this is like what's popular. That's what young men are consuming, and they're like, well, why do I want to deal with this? I might as well just go hang with the bros, play some video games, and say, fuck this. Like, it's not worth it. Like, have sex sometimes, and it's like, fuck relationships and fuck all that, you know?
A person like me who stands up and says the things that many young men think. I haven't put a magic spell on the world. The fact that people like what I say means that they agree with me deep inside. They may be afraid to say it themselves, but I am seen as
I wouldn't say that they agree deep inside. What I would say is, he offers the most realistic solution for the situation that young men are dealing with, right? It's like, focus on yourself. You can do that. And like, he basically tells you like, and this is the whole red pill shtick, right? It's like, your life is in your control. You do you, and that's it. Like, don't care about anyone else. You do you, which is not wrong, obviously. It does go to extremes where it's like, don't care about other people completely and all that stuff, but it's not wrong. And honestly, that is the solution for most problems. Like, don't stop caring about other people. Just do your, like, become a better version of yourself. I think that's fine.
bastion of free speech and a bastion for masculinity as a whole, because a lot of men are largely forgotten about.
Do you think you're a force for good, or are you a force in evolution where perhaps you've done and said stuff you shouldn't have done, and as you get older, perhaps as you get bigger, more followed around the world, you sense a responsibility perhaps you didn't have early on?
Well, we all evolve. Every human evolves day by day. You wouldn't be human if you didn't evolve on an hour-by-hour basis. But I do not think I'm a force for good. I absolutely not really know I'm a force for good, because I'm a force for truth. And truth is a good thing. Without truth, we're going to end up in absolute tyranny and slavery, and we're already on our way there. I feel like we're starting to combat it. My cancellation was the beginning of a change in public consciousness. Elon having Twitter is another beginning of a change in public consciousness. And anybody who stands up and speaks what they truly believe, even if it's something I don't personally agree with, I think that truth is absolutely important. And people's personal truths and people's personal opinions, even on differing sides of the same opinion, should be heard.
Tell me about your life. You were born to a mixed race couple. Your father was an African American, a chess player. And your mother, she was from this country.
Correct, yeah. So my father was black chess player. He was in the Air Force. He met my mother here in England. And then I was raised initially in the United States. And then I moved to Luton, England when I was younger. So I've moved around a lot. I've lived an eclectic life in many different scenarios. We've moved around. I've done a lot of different things, lived a lot of different experiences. And
what
I'm thankful for
nationality
it.
are you? I mean, what do you identify as?
I consider myself British now, but I will say that part of me, the patriotic Brit inside of me, is devastated by the state of the UK currently, and I want to make that very clear. The patriotic Brit in me truly loves this country, and seeing what's happening to it, especially to our major cities, is almost heartbreaking to watch in real time.
In what way?
It's falling apart. This is a failed society. By every metric you can possibly measure, it is absolutely and utterly failing. The cost of living crisis, the crime rates, everything is falling apart. If you compare it to a country like the United Arab Emirates, you compare it to a city like Dubai, London, which should be the greatest city on earth, is failing in absolutely every metric because our leadership is a joke. If you look at Dubai and the UAE, the leadership there is so flawless, so genuinely genius. They saw ahead and have built almost a utopia. And then you look at London, you can't even walk around with a watch on. It's disgusting.
You know, it's very interesting.
Utopia for the rich.
For the World Cup. Obviously, a lot of people in England taking a very censorious moral view about the World Cup being in the Middle East at all because of their laws against homosexuality, because of their
This is the funniest thing, bro. Who cares if the FIFA is in like the Middle East and they don't accept homosexuality and all that stuff? Why are you throwing like? This is what I don't like about these like movements. Stop throwing your life values at other people who do not agree with them. You want to change the world? The FIFA was not the place to do it. FIFA was about soccer. Okay, like. I am pretty sure when you come to those states, if you want to watch FIFA, they're not asking you if you're gay or straight. They just like common sense to like don't portray it because they don't like it, right? If you're, let's say, if you're a homophobe, right, and you go to a gay bar, no one cares you're a homophobe until you start acting upon it, okay? Because no one would know. Stop throwing your values at other people. That's not the place. FIFA is not the fucking ground where you fight this battle. You want to fight this battle, go deal with the governments, man, not with FIFA. It's so dumb.
treatment of migrant workers. I've got to say,
God damn.
not that I don't share the concerns about those things, of course I do, but I found a lot of the virtue signaling, and I think that's what it was in many cases, about the whole region, actually quite distasteful. Because when I was in Qatar, I thought the World Cup was fantastically well run, incredibly good experience. But a lot of Qataris were saying to me, you know, there's this weird, quaint feeling back in your country that we all want to aspire to behave like that. That we all want to live in a country with massive drug problems, with massive knife crime issues, with scenes like the European Championships final where it's complete lawlessness going on, where stuff like the NHS, the system of healthcare, is basically collapsing, where the education system is dropping behind, so on and so on and so on. And it's a really interesting perspective. They were like, I know you all think that we want to have your form of democracy and your form of life.
Of course not. No one wants that.
We're fine, thanks.
Absolutely, because it's a failed society and it's godless. I think it's disgusting. We leave our old people to rot in old people's homes, and then we sit there and say we don't have enough money for nurses. I understand this nurse strike very well and how frustrating it can be if you walk into a hospital and the nurse is not prepared to work. but the nurses would be prepared to work at the current wage if they believed this country was spending its money prudently. When you see this country spending its money and just absolutely wasting it, pulling it out of thin air to fund proxy wars, God knows where that has nothing to do with them, of course, as a nurse, you're going to stand up and say, well, can't I get a pay rise? This country has failed on every metric.
Yeah, you're wasting money somewhere else. Might as well give me money instead.
I've just come to London now. I made it very clear to my private jet pilot. I said, fuel the jet.
I wouldn't say, I don't agree that nurses are thinking about that, but maybe like subconsciously you're like, well, okay, imagine you're working at a business and this business is just like throwing money, like just like burning money, and you're like, well, instead of burning that money, like, can you give me some more? Like, what the fuck, right? And it's like, maybe like somewhere in the subconscious, but I don't think that's really why nurses were striking. I'm pretty sure it had to do more with the COVID stuff and not so much just the pay stuff. But it's a lot of strikes are usually more principled rather than just financial. A lot of them are financial, but I think there's also a lot of principle feeling involved.
Talking to Piers, I'm leaving this cesspit. It's disgusting. This country and London as a whole 10 years ago was one of the most hospitable cities on earth. Now you cannot walk around safely with a watch on. And you're a full-grown man. You're a full-grown adult. When's the last time there's been a serious problem in your life that you completely ignored and it fixed itself? Never, ever. What are any of our politicians doing to fix any of the problems we're
Well, I
genuinely
saw
facing?
today that Sadiq Khan is planning to run again for the third term of office as mayor. All I can say is everyone I know who's had any experience of crime at any level in London in the last few years has had a bad experience of it, of the way it's been handled. You know, I mean, I can give an example. I can reveal this now. I've talked for 18 months. I got a specific death threat on one of my son's Instagram pages in public.
Wow.
A public comment. And it was very specific about what this person was going to do. Yeah. I couldn't use the police to evade him. We know where you live. We're going to come and kill you. And then a second one threatening my son and his mother, my ex-wife. I called in the police. I thought, I'm not having them putting death threats on my son's life. Sure. I called the police. Police investigated this. They arrested somebody over a year ago. And then I heard from the police this week that despite 18 months of investigation, of a publicly posted comment on Instagram threatening to kill me on my son's Instagram, that they will not be able to pursue the case. Now, and I thought, imagine, I'm high profile. This was a front page of the Sun newspaper, this story.
If that same man...
And this is the thing. This is like a lot of Twitch streamers, like mainly females, were complaining about this thing as well. Until something happens, the police won't really do anything. And they, like, no offense, and like no matter how popular the Twitch streamers are, they're not high profile. Right? You know, I don't know. Maybe they're more high profile than Piers Morgan. I don't know. But they're not technically high profile. It's a very niche market, right? So, and they have this problem. Like, imagine like you're like, let's say a senator and this happens, bro. That guy's a fucking like, he's dead, okay? Like whoever threatens a senator on Instagram is like jailed for a very long time and dead. But it's like regular people. And I wouldn't say Piers Morgan's neck is per se regular, but like, you know, yeah, like no one will do anything about it. Like it's fucked up for sure.
Called a transgender person the wrong pronouns, he would be in trouble.
Right.
So doesn't it just show how absolutely asinine and banal our legal system has become? That would never happen in a country like United Arab Emirates, the place I'm now residing in, Dubai, where the leadership has common sense. And I'm saying that all the leadership structures, doesn't matter if it's labor or conservative, across all of it in this nation have completely and utterly failed. Sadiq Khan is a loser because when you have a city which is losing, which London is losing in all metrics across its competitive cities around the world, and you're in charge of it, by extension, you're a loser. I will tell you right now, instead of virtue signaling and giving Qatar a hard time over their religious beliefs,
fix your own shit.
Is a treaty with Qatar to build a prison deep in the desert. Make me mayor of London. We'll make a prison deep in the desert, and if you're caught with a knife or robbing someone, you can go do 25 years with one meal a day in the scorching sun. And then what we'll do is we'll put cameras there and we'll interview you once a week and broadcast that out to the nation and see if you change your mind and make people understand that this is a country that should be respected and our laws should be respected. Instead, what happens? What has Sadiq or any of the people in charge of this country actually done to fix any of our issues besides sit around and talk? Nothing. None of them have done anything, but they seem ultra concerned with finding money for proxy wars, ultra concerned with rainbow flags in another country that is uninterested in them, and their priorities are completely messed up. Of course the ambulance people are. Of course the ambulance drivers are striking. Of course the nurses are striking. Nobody cares about the most important things in this nation. It's a failing country in real time, and that's why I've left.
What about the specific allegation? By the way, I don't disagree with a lot of that because I do think this country is in big trouble. And
I don't know if it's a failing nation or not. I don't know enough about it, but I do know that a lot of politicians these days, their priorities are completely messed up. Last I checked, politicians are supposed to be for the people. Obviously, that hasn't been the case since forever, but at least act at kind of like maybe you're trying to do something for the people, you know? Pretend election is around the corner every time, you know? Every time you do something, pretend elections around the corner. Will this get me votes or not?
One of the problems is people think if they do have a crime against them, nobody cares anymore.
I know nobody cares. I have specific examples and people who I know personally. Absolutely and utterly nobody cares. I was in Harrods yesterday and someone tried to rob someone's watch in the middle of the store. I walk around with I have a security team of 6 full-grown men, plus me and my brother, 8 military-age males, all over 110 kilos, big men, just so I can walk around this city. It's absolutely unacceptable.
What about the issue of race? And I mentioned that in the context of the Harry and Meghan ongoing debate, their war with the royal family, war against the monarchy, their specific constant referencing to the fact that they believe they were driven out of here because of racism in Britain. What do you make of that?
That's absolute fallacy.
Yeah.
And you're from a mixed race background yourself.
Correct. I'm from a mixed race background myself. And while we're discussing the leaders of the UK, although I do think they're doing a terrible job, it's kind of hard for Meghan to say that the UK is a racist country when the leader of the UK is darker skinned than her and the mayor of London is darker skinned than her. And I am a person who's probably darker skinned than her, and I've never experienced any kind of bigotry against myself, besides the fact I'm a straight male. I'll get bigotry for that before I'll get bigotry for my skin color. I think it's just a cop-out, and her not wanting to be perspicacious and self-reflective enough to understand that she has attacked an age-old institution, and there are people who are very patriotic about that institution, and by attacking it and bringing a degree of distaste to it, there's going to be people who don't like her. And if you're a dislikable person, you can't just instantly stand up and say it's because of my skin color. It might be because of your actions and some of the things you've said.
I mean, I think there's probably no doubt she's had racism on social media because it's...
Who hasn't, Piers?
It's a cesspit.
You probably have.
Well, as I said just now, I've had death threats on social media and no one seemed to care very much. But I think that's probably inarguable. My issue with what they've both been doing is if you're going to make allegations against an institution like the royal family and the monarchy, you've got to actually provide some evidence. You can't just spray gun this thing out there and say, well, somebody was racist.
Yeah, and airing dirty laundry is never going to be respected by the populace, and being a tattletale is never going to be respected by the populace. And I think the problem with the modern world we're living in is a lot of age-old traditions are being destroyed in real time. It doesn't matter what the tradition is. Most of them are being eroded. And something like the British royal family, which has been around for a very long time, is an age-old tradition. One of the things holding the UK together, one of the last things we have, to sit and detriment it and to sit and insult it and to give away secrets from inside of it and try and paint a negative image of it is going to upset a lot of people. And you have to be prepared for that backlash. You can't say I've done things that upset people, but it's nothing to do with what I've done. It's purely because of my skin color. Also, it's kind of ironic that she's doing that because she's not particularly dark-skinned. It's kind of funny to watch her sit and say, race.
I think the truth is, I don't know what... Look, you can say that. I can't.
I'll tell you right now, no one, unless, like, if you look at her, you wouldn't think she's dark-skinned, okay? It's like, maybe if you know her background, maybe she is, but it's like, when you just look at her, I never thought she was, like, darker skin. I thought she was just white and tanned, not, like, I just thought she wasn't ginger, okay? Let's just say that. I just thought she wasn't ginger. That's as colored skin as I thought she was. Like, so I don't know what even racism is regarding her. I think most people wouldn't even know. If someone says anything about her like because of her race, like, I doubt that person would be smart enough to even know if she has that race in her. You know,
the reality of it is, I just don't know what the specifics of the racism she says she's had because we've not seen any evidence.
The universe is a funny place, Piers. If you're looking for something, you're going to find it.
Oh, 100%.
Right? When I got canceled, when they attacked me unfairly, lied about me across the entire mainstream media, deleted me from social media so I couldn't defend myself, and lied about me repeatedly, I could have stood up and said, it's because I'm brown. I didn't do that. I sat and said, okay, there's people who misunderstand my message. My message is a positive one. People misunderstand me. Let me self-reflect and understand that, yes, perhaps this said a long time ago was said in the wrong way. Perhaps this was misunderstood. Perhaps people don't understand this.
And that's the thing where it's like, whenever something happens to you, stop looking to others for blame. Sometimes others are to blame, sure, but you still can check what you could have done differently to not get this result, what you could have done better. Because that's like self-reflection is such an important tool. You really need to always, like, whenever something bad happens to you, you always need to, I wouldn't say blame yourself, but see what you could have done better to prevent this for the future. That's the whole point. That's honestly like the main purpose for your memory, is literally to look upon your memory and fucking figure out what you could have done to learn from it and to do better next time, right? Even when, like, if you're in a relationship and the person that you're with cheat on you, yeah, it is their fault, but what could you have done to either know, to either notice, to either, like, you know, something that is within your control. There's no point just blaming other people. You need to understand what is within your control to change in order for this to not happen again, right? Is the type of guy you're attracted to, you know, shit like that, or girl, whatever.
I could have just copped out and could have just been refusing to self-reflect on any level and said, it's because I'm brown, that's why they did it.
Yep.
That's not the mature way to be as an adult.
What did you think of the Jeremy Clarkson furore, where he wrote what I think most people, but including him belatedly after he published it and written the column, he did make an analogy from a Game of Thrones scene, which most people, I think, did find crossed a line and was deeply offensive. I think it crossed a line. What do you think?
Yeah, I understand why people feel that. But when you attack an institution as old as the British royal family, you're attacking patriotism in and of itself for one of the most respected countries, or previously most respected countries on earth, and you're going to have some visceral reactions. Perhaps Jeremy Clarkson is too famous and too well-renowned to say those kind of things, but there's a lot of people who genuinely feel that way, and that's why he said it. And this is what happens when you attack age-old institutions in any country.
Should he have apologized?
That's a good question. It looks like he did. Personally, I think as a man, you should stand up, say what you mean what you say. I don't think you should ever apologize for anything you've ever said. Even me.
What if you say something truly?
Then
if you actually think you're wrong,
actually do regret
like the whole apologize thing. It's like, look, if you really believe in what you say, then whatever. Like, you shouldn't be apologizing. Otherwise, your word has like no value later on. But if you've done self-reflections and whatever, and you're like, actually, you regret what you said, then fuck it, apologize, right? It's like, okay, you were wrong, misinformed, whatever, right? There are situations when you can apologize. I don't think this is like a white or black thing, right? What you believe in, you say. And if you were wrong, and later on you actually find out within yourself that you were wrong because you were misguided, misinformed, and all whatever reason, then yeah, fuck it, apologize. I don't think this is such a big deal about the whole apology thing. Like, I don't think this should be like such a big topic of discussion. A lot of people know that what they do is wrong, and then they just like, well, I'll just do it, and then if I get backlash, I'll apologize. No, those people are scummy. I'm talking about you, certain Twitch streamers that do dumb shit and then apologize. I should have known better. I will do better. Shut the fuck up.
Truly regret it, then yeah, okay, you can apologize. But if at the time you meant it, then the best thing you can do is say, look, I've just changed my mind. I no longer feel that way, but at the time, that's how I felt, and I'm the person who says what he feels, and that's what I felt at the time, and I apologize that offended you.
Andrew Tate, we'll be back with you after the break. We'll talk to you about
something like that, yeah.
Elon Musk restoring you to his platform. Has it calmed you down? Are you as controversial on there? Are you mindful that you're only one false move, like Kanye West, for example, away from being removed again? Well, Elon Musk has restored a throng of banned accounts, is taking over Twitter with a sworn commitment to free speech. He's also shown he has a line of his own, though. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones remains banned. Kanye West was reinstated, then banned again for posting a swastika inside a Star of David.
Yeah, there's some things you don't do, man.
For now, anyway. He was first removed in 2017.
Like the whole swastika thing. Personally, I wouldn't ban. I'm Jewish, by the way. I'm not offended by it. It's like, whatever. You think the Nazis were right? Like, whatever. Were there some things that the Nazis did that was good for their country? Yeah, probably. At least you can probably find something they did. But in the general consensus, I'm pretty sure they were scumbags, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, everyone kind of knows, you know? They're like... That's not how you solve problems. Killing 7 million of a certain kind, you know? It's a bit much, some tiny bit much, you know? It's like, maybe less, maybe like 0, you know? It's like, don't target, whatever. But it's like, but I wouldn't ban him for that, for having that opinion, you know? It's like, and like, you know, posting swastika. It's not like he was calling out to attack anyone. Though, then again, this is the problem with the swastika. people who rally behind it usually tend to also have some crazy people in there that would attack people because they feel like they have support online because they have X amount of people who are with them in their cause. So I can understand that, but at the same time, you can't really blame what's it called? Yee. Why did he change his name? Jesus Christ. You can't blame him necessarily for people being dumb and extremist. You know? But it's the whole thing is like, if the swastika is considered a call to action, then it's a problem. If it's not, then I don't think he should have been banned.
Should bear some responsibility as victims of rape, and he hasn't exactly been shy since his reprieve. Let's take a look. Genghis Khan had endless women and 200 children as a reward for conquest. I'm the most searched man on the planet. I've conquered Earth. I'm the highest status male on the planet. Females do not expect loyalty from me. They only expect that of lesser men. Then there was this. Imagine having less than 10 children because you're a who doesn't have 4 wives. Genetic.
I'm assuming it's the who doesn't have 4 wives, genetic failures. Now again, this is on purpose, controversial, on purpose, like, you know, to get replies. I get it. I don't think he thinks this about, like, you know, a lot of men in his life who are his friends do not have 10 children and 4 wives, okay? Let's be real. He doesn't think of them as, like, I don't know what this means, like pussy boys. I don't know, pussy bitches. Either way, like, I'm pretty sure, you know, it's like, I'm pretty sure he doesn't think that about his friends that don't have that, right? It's clearly meant to, like, antagonize and piss people off.
Failures. Finally, if a girl follows me and she's hot and I see a single picture of her in a private jet, it's block. Women can't afford jets. Women are brokies. Why are you flying around on some man's jet? You should have been a virgin when I met you. Haram. All right, Andrew Tate.
Haram.
You're getting very near the knuckle with some of these tweets.
Am I?
You tell me.
I don't think so. I think people can understand they're semi-satirical.
Mm-hmm.
I think people can understand.
Do you mean them as jokes or do you mean them?
Not that I don't mean them as jokes. I mean, they're a overall public commentary and observation. I do mean what I say. If I were to see a girl on a private plane on Instagram, for example, I would assume that a man put her on that private plane. I would not assume she bought it herself.
What if it was...
Perhaps that makes me misogynistic.
What if it was Ariana Grande or Beyonce?
Well, that's slightly different, isn't it?
Why?
Because they're famous and very rich.
Women?
Yeah, of course, and they're famous and very rich. But
so there are lots of women you wouldn't think that if you actually saw them on a private plane.
If I saw a 19-year-old girl from Moldova where the average wage is $200 a month, and she's on a private jet, I would assume that with the balance of probabilities, considering I'm an adult, it's very likely because of her beauty, a man.
Let's just say it like this: if you're a man on a private jet, probably no one put you on that jet. You either rented it, you bought it, or you're fake taking a picture in it, right? Maybe like it's a friend's or something, but you pretend it's yours. If you're a woman, let's be real, usually you are invited, okay? Not because like men are achievers and women are brokies, not because of that, because that's usually what happens, okay? Also, I mean, like, that's how it is. Like, if I don't see a lot of 19-year-old men posting pictures near jets, okay? But I see a lot of 19-year-olds posting pictures near jets. Look at all the, what's it called, Ignite crew. What, you think they own a jet if they take the picture outside of the Ignite page? Because all of them are Instagram models, right? They all take selfies inside of Bilzerian's jet, you know? What, you think that's their jet? No, we all know it's someone else's jet, right? But if you see a 19-year-old guy, he is either trying to scam you, or he's legit like daddy's money, or he's like, you know. But it's like, you don't assume, even if you see a 19-year-old man, you don't assume it's his jet. Okay, usually, right? It's like you're too young to be able to afford one, okay? Most of the time. But like most, I mean like 99.9% of the time.
If that makes me misogynistic instead of just perspicacious enough to understand how the world works,
Obviously.
so be it. I'm a realist.
Should you be such a generalist about these things?
Well, you have to be a generalist when you're looking for in the balance of probabilities and trying to find balance in the world. You have to be a generalist. In general, if I stroke a lion, it's going to bite my hand. In general, there might be a nice one, but I don't want to find out. So that's how the world works.
You
I mean,
praised
it's fair.
the Taliban in the past. Would you do so again tonight?
The world is not black and white.
Oh, I had this massive discussion with my friends this like 2 years ago, and we were talking about I think it was something in Iraq or whatever. Either way, it was like basically a different culture, right? So it's like we think that our culture is correct. We think that our culture is how it should be. And it's like how like women should have freedom and all that stuff. And again, I grew up with a belief that women should have the rights that everyone else has, right? However, that is not to say that other people who believe something else and have other belief system that I'm going to go there and force my beliefs on them. Whatever their belief system is, it works for them, and that's fine. If it works for them and they're happy with it, that's not my problem to solve, okay? Do not meddle with other people's political, societal affairs. It's not your job. Just take care of your own area and be fine with it. Everyone will have different beliefs. Everyone will run their home differently, their house differently, their country differently. Stop caring, okay? You're not liberating anyone. You actually are going to cause a negative effect. If you're going to a country, let's say like you're super into pride, right? It's like you're really all about the trans rights, the women's rights, the gay rights, all that shit, right? And you go to a country that is completely against it. Guess what's going to happen if you go there and try to push that in? First of all, you're probably going to get killed. But second of all, you're probably going to get a lot of people who would be like, you know what? This guy's right. We should change that. They're going to get them killed too. Okay? Stop. You're not helping anyone.
It's very difficult to sit and make black and white assumptions about anything. To sit and say that the Taliban are completely and utterly evil and we're completely and utterly good, as you just discussed with the moral high ground. I believe that the Taliban bring law and order. It may not be the law and order we like, but it's a form of law and order, and humans usually gravitate
What about
towards...
their treatment of women? I mean, only tonight they have banned any women from going to university.
Fantastic. Let's get the feminists to go and teach them a lesson. The feminists are so tough, and they stand up and say they can do anything a man can do. Let's arm them up and send them to Afghanistan. I'm sure they'll fix it.
No, but it's not. It's a serious matter, isn't it? That women don't get the education they deserve.
And that's a very serious answer. If women are just as capable as men in terms of combat, like feminists pretend they are, then they can go over there and they can deal with the Taliban.
A lot of women do go to combat.
Exactly. So they can go deal with the Taliban. It's nothing to do with me. They can stand up and fight for their own rights.
Surely you wouldn't defend the Taliban banning women from university.
It's saying it's nothing to do with me, Piers. It's absolutely nothing.
What about the Afghan women?
It's nothing to do with me on any level.
You don't have a view?
I have a view. My view is that people naturally gravitate towards law and order, and if you didn't have the Taliban, you'd have different warlords operating in lawlessness, and there would be no way to prevent your store or your market stall getting completely robbed by someone with an AK-47, and people are going to gravitate towards a form of law and order. America left. They left a power vacuum, and the power vacuum is now full.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
Okay, well,
but I do think the banning of women from university in Afghanistan is utterly horrific.
And I think the feminists are going to arm themselves. They're going to show us that they can do anything a man can do. They're going to go over there to combat, and they're going to teach how.
Yeah.
Why can't you just?
He's just avoiding. Like, what? Why can't you say? Because he doesn't want to get involved in it. Why would he want to get involved? It's politics of a different country. There's no reason for him to get involved. They want to ban women from university. Well, fuck. Did they ban women from university? Like, he doesn't live there. It's not his problem. Like, do you want him to like go and like, you know, hire the A team and go do something about it? You want the US to go and like disband the Taliban and put like a different system there? Like what do you want him to do? It's like it's out of his control. He doesn't control it. Based on his standards, it might not be okay, but it works for them, and leave it at that. That's all it is.
You know what? It's completely wrong.
Because it's not my point. I don't understand.
It makes me think. It'll make your critics think that you don't think it's wrong.
They could ban all men. They could ban all short people.
But they're not. They're only banning women.
Correct. They could ban all short people. They could ban all people with long hair. And none of it's anything to do with me. So they can do whatever they want. I'm not going to go to war with the Taliban.
But you've just literally spent an impassioned first segment comparing the way, for example, Dubai handles law and order to this country.
Correct.
So you do express views about different laws.
Absolutely. Both places.
So when I put to you a law that basically bans women from being educated, it's not. Why is it a problem for you to say, you know what, it's wrong?
They're both places I've resided in, Dubai and London. So I've
Also, by the way, this is not preventing women from getting educated. It prevents women from getting educated in universities. Okay? Maybe they want their women to be educated in something else, like taking care of the house. You know? It's like, you're saying that it's like, well, men will have to go to the army there. Well, what if men don't want to go to the army? You know? It's like, yeah, there's like a lot of non-choices happening throughout. Why are you caring about the university thing, but you're not caring about the army thing? Right? What if men don't want to go to university, but they are forced to go to university? It's like, university is only for men, and men have to go to university. Before they go to university, they go to the army. Well, what now? Right? It's like, why is that fair? It's not, but it works for them. So leave it alone.
I can give my personal opinion, but like I said, it has absolutely nothing to do with what the Taliban decide to do inside of Afghanistan. And if they decide that's the most prudent way to run their society, then we have two choices. We can either go over there and start another war that we shouldn't be involved in and waste a bunch of life, or we can sit and say, it's up to them. They should govern themselves. They're people. We're no better than them. And they've decided to live their lives a particular way, and that's how they're going to live it. Like I said, if feminists are very upset and they're very disgusted by the fact that in Afghanistan, women cannot go to school, I've been told repeatedly by feminists that they're just as capable as men in all realms, and I expect them to arm themselves and fly over to Afghanistan and fix it.
Like a lot of women have done in combat.
Good. Congratulations.
Fuck it.
Go fight.
Do it.
Well, this is the thing that's very interesting. Because when you talk about ideas, it's not even just about Afghanistan and feminism. When you talk about ideas, they must all be defended at some point. There has to come down to violence. The world is backed by violence. Nobody wants to talk about this. It doesn't matter what it is. If you have a disagreement between two parties, eventually, if the disagreement continues, it ends up in violence. Feminism is defended by men. Men stand up and defend feminism, not feminists themselves, because they're incapable of violence. And we're in a situation now where you're saying that we should send men to go and fight for feminism. Why? It's not a man's problem.
No, I think I'm saying
feminists believe.
I think men can be feminists too, because if feminism believes in equality for women, I'll sign up to it. I don't agree with radical feminists who hate men. Right? To me, the radical anything.
But that's exactly who Andrew is talking
and I
about.
think most feminism in the West currently is radical.
Well, some of it is, no question.
Absolutely, but this is my point. My point is that the Taliban are going to do whatever the Taliban decide to do. If I'm going to fly over to another country, I will respect their laws and customs.
Yep.
It's not my job to come along and tell other people how to live. I don't believe I have a moral high ground in that degree.
True.
And if people are genuinely upset and disgusted by it, the bottom line in most
go do something about
violence. It. People who feel like they should go and fix it, then fix it with violence, then it can be the feminists who feel so outraged by it. But it's funny, they don't comment on these subjects, feminists. They seem to instead attack the Western male for some reason.
You deleted a video in which you praised ISIS. Why?
I don't know which video you're talking about in particular. It might have been a video from a long time ago. But in general, I understand that, like I said, the world is not black and white. The world is gray areas. And Western imperialism as a whole has been causing more problems than it's ever fixed. And it's disgusting. And I don't know the exact video you're referencing. But sometimes when an underdog destroys a Western imperialist, I have a degree of, I wouldn't say satisfaction, but
satisfaction.
No, but there's certainly a degree of
the way ISIS.
I don't know the particular.
Themselves.
I don't know about the particular video we're talking about.
ISIS were one of the most deadly terror groups in the world.
Absolutely.
They committed a series of appalling atrocities.
Sure. Killing
innocent people left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
How could you possibly have satisfaction?
Well, if it's the video I'm recollecting, if it's the video we're talking about, it's about the fact that I believed ISIS was funded by the West and created by the West in the first place. And it wasn't a degree of satisfaction like I'm happy ISIS exists. It was a
satisfaction that you were right.
Well, here's what you said. ISIS are the real Muslims because ISIS do exactly what the book says. Kill everyone who's not a Muslim and chop people's heads off and set them on fire and be raging lunatics. But all the other Muslims go, they're not real Muslims because I read the book and ignore those parts. Well, then you're not an effing Muslim because you're ignoring the effing book.
Well, he's not defending them then.
That's an interesting point you've just raised because I am now Islamic. And it's funny because I used to be an atheist. And when you're an atheist, you believe that religion causes more problems than it fixes. And then you come to a realization and you start to learn the truth of yourself and the truth of God. And you realize that religion's actually
did get him there.
The problems in the world, and godlessness is the problem in the world. So that is something I will apologize for and admit I was wrong about because I was atheistic. And now as a Muslim, I understand that's absolutely not the case. If that's the particular video you're talking about, then there's
well, that's really interesting. So you regret saying that?
Yeah, because you learn and you grow and you
evolve. He didn't know.
As I said,
lack of information is what it is.
I didn't believe in God at the time. It was a very long time ago. It's actually kind of a testament to you, Piers. You managed to find the oldest possible videos of me that have ever existed. But at the time, I was atheistic.
Well, no, I was curious because you have recently converted to Islam.
Correct.
So these questions, I think, are pertinent to your conversion.
Absolutely.
As to what you actually believe as a practicing Muslim now.
Yeah, I believe that Islam is beautiful. I believe it's the last true religion on earth. It's certainly the last respected religion on earth. And I felt differently inside since I've converted. And I think it has the solutions to a lot of the problems we're facing in the world today. That particular video was once again satirical. A lot of people watching this would not have seen it. They would not have seen the joke element of it. It's fine, but
It's not funny, though, is
no.
it?
Well, you know, it's like most of the time, as we discussed in our first interview with me, things are taken out of context, short form, et cetera, et cetera. But all in all, you could say the same things about Christians. If you were to read the Old Testament and say, stick to the Old Testament, you'd kill anyone who works on a Sunday. So it's not applicable to
You
read the
wouldn't
books of the Bible.
countenance violence.
Say again?
You don't countenance violence.
I absolutely do not countenance violence. When I was talking about violence being the bottom line decider between disagreeing points of view, it's
Last
not
resort.
calling for violence. I'm just making a commentary on how the world genuinely functions.
When
Yep.
you use a word like satisfaction, you understand that people will watch that and think,
Well, he was
how can
saying
you possibly
not
find
necessarily
any form of
satisfaction.
terrorism satisfying.
I don't find any form of terrorism satisfying. I don't find Western terrorism satisfying either. I don't think it's satisfying that we managed to find $500,000 per bomb to drop on some farmer who makes $4 a day under the name of freedom. And
Well,
then
nor
we
do
can't, and we can't seem to pay our nurses enough to do their jobs. I don't find any kind of terrorism. And it's actually very interesting you talk about the word terrorism. Terrorist and freedom fighter, good guy and bad guy, all of this is subjective.
Yeah,
There
of
are
course.
people who believe that the West are the biggest terrorists on the earth. There are people who believe that America causes more wars than anyone else, and they've killed more people than anyone else.
Yeah.
And there's people who believe the
That's
absolute
what it is.
opposite. So once again, it depends who you're talking to. It's a subjective conversation. There's no black and white in the world. There's areas of gray, and that's how it is. So I thought you were talking about another video where I was saying that ISIS is standing up and fighting for what they believe in. I'm not saying what they believe in is right, but that's what they were fighting for at the time. And it was a completely different video than the one you were actually referencing.
But you would condemn them now.
I don't condemn anybody doing anything bad to anybody. I'm not a person out here with a criminal record. I don't hurt anyone. I just spent my first segment on this show talking about how I believe in law and order and how important that is. I think people can operate inside of their lives safely and walk around, man, woman, child, can walk around in safety in any city they live in. How that law and order is constructed is not my jurisdiction.
The thing is, like, with the whole, like, condemn somebody, it's like, first of all, you don't know the reasons why they're doing it, or, like, even if you do, it's not like you don't see it from their perspective. Even if you understand the reason, doesn't mean you understand the perspective. The end of the end of the story is like this, okay? Imagine World War II, but the Germans won. Who do you think would end up being the bad guy, the Germans or everyone else? Right? Like, Germans would not see themselves as the bad guy if they won the war and controlled the world. They'll be like, yeah, we're the good guys. Yeah, we beat evil. That's what they would be saying, right? But because they lost, everyone else had the higher moral ground. And they are the good guys, right? So it's like, it's all subjective in that regard. In my opinion, obviously the Germans were the bad guys, right? But again, I'm on the side of the victors in a sense because I'm alive and they're not, you know? Technically, I won that war. But like, everything's subjective, right? So yeah, so I agree with him there. Obviously, from my point of view, ISIS is evil and are terrorists. But again, what is their point of view will be the opposite. Like, what they might be cleansing the world of evil, what they believe is to be evil, right? So I understand the point. Not necessarily agreeing, but I understand like how he doesn't want to pick a side because it's not his war to fight.
I'm not in charge of the law and order of Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Afghanistan, Kazakhstan, any of them. It's nothing to do with me.
Any of the stands?
I'll talk to you after the break about masculinity. Why is it that so many young men gravitate to you? What is your view of what it takes to be a man? Welcome back to the special edition.
Because everyone is fighting against masculinity for the last decade and a bit. Everyone says masculinity is evil, masculinity is bad. That's what you're taught in school. So yeah, I understand why people gravitate to somebody who embodies masculinity very popularly, you know?
It's Morgan Uncensored with Andrew Tate, one-on-one. So Ash Sarkar, who's a lively contributor to this program, has tweeted, Andrew Tate, who you're interviewing about free speech, thinks women are a man's property. We shouldn't be allowed to drive, boasts about only dating teenagers.
He's like rolling his eyes.
Misogynists are disgusting whether they're in Afghanistan or
He's rolling his eyes, that's hilarious.
Am I a misogynist, am I don't think first of the things she said, I don't even truly believe. If you're prepared to listen to me, I'll explain to you exactly why she's completely and utterly wrong. If you can go through the points again, she said.
Do you think you're a misogynist?
Absolutely not. I'm not a misogynist on any level. This is one of those buzzwords they just throw at people randomly. Homophobic, racist, misogynist, they just throw it out at people.
What is your view of women?
I'm a realist.
What is your real view of women?
I absolutely not really love women. I adore women. I have good relationships with women. Not a single woman has come up to me on the street since I've been canceled. Not a single one has said anything negative. Every single one of them has said positive things. You're a traditional male. I wish more men were like you. You understand your masculine roles. You understand what you're supposed to do. You understand you're supposed to protect women. You're exactly the kind of man I'd be looking for. I've never had a negative interaction with a female ever since I've been dubbed the biggest misogynist in the world. Please let me finish. I'm sorry, Piers. Also, there's not been a single woman who's accused me of a crime, not a single woman who's accused me of rape, not a single woman who's come out and said anything from my entire past of 36 years I've done anything wrong ever. Anybody else with my level of fame, any footballer, any other movie star, at least has people who've come out and accused them of rape, X, Y, Z. I have no woman who's come out and ever said I've hurt her, no woman who's come out and ever said I've done damage to her or been horrible to her. Everybody who ever interacted with me has said I've been a nice person.
I mean, that's only his. I can take his word, but let's be real. He's also in a position where he can silence a lot of women from saying stuff like that publicly, right? All right, just to put it out there, I'm not saying he did, but he is in a position to do that.
All of them.
I have no reason not. I have no reason not to believe him when he says it, but I'm just saying that's like him saying it. That is not like. It's not as powerful as like witnesses saying it, you know.
Nobody who seems to know so much is full of.
All right, you've responded to her tweet.
Yeah, she's a liar.
But where is the line for you between masculinity, which I will always defend, and which I agree with? I think a lot of women like men to be masculine, and what has become known as toxic masculinity. And the reason I ask you is that you are engaged in that debate with men all the time. Where is the line for you where men shouldn't cross, where the behaviour should be kept within a line?
Please define toxic masculinity.
Well, you tell me what you think it crosses a line from being a masculine, good man to a bad man.
There's no such thing as too much masculinity if it's genuinely masculine. Genuine masculinity is not out here to hurt people. It's absolutely the opposite. It's out here to protect. And when bad things happen, they call traditionally masculine men. If you need a firefighter, you need a masculine man. When you call the police because of the problem you have, you want masculine men. And as soon as a woman or a man is in trouble, when you look for backup, you look for masculine men. And masculine men have a duty to provide and protect those they care about. We have a duty to do things we don't feel like doing because we know we're supposed to do them. And that's why we stayed in the Titanic and died. Those were masculine men.
Where did you get your views about this from?
This is what I grew up with. It's the family I grew up around. And
your father, your mother,
yeah,
both?
and the world I lived in. And I think a lot of the things I'm saying now about masculinity and how people should act in the world, how the world should function, were considered completely normal and accepted by everybody only 20 years ago. I think the world's just lost its mind. For me to stand up and say a man should protect a woman now gets to be called a misogynist and canceled. If I said that 10 years ago, everyone would say, duh.
That whole thing he had with the XQC, well, what if she's a better shot and all that? Like, bro, that was like the worst take anyone. Like, XQC is like the least masculine man out there. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not saying I'll be thrilled to like if I have a woman to protect, and I'll be thrilled to like jump out of my bed and go and like fucking fight the bear so he doesn't eat my wife. Like, I wouldn't be thrilled about it, but yeah, I would feel the need to do it, right? It's like it's not you know, if there's an issue, here's a thing, right? And this is like not that big of an issue, but it's like there was like we were at a friend's house and there was like this noise outside. It wasn't just like, and it was like 1 a.m. or some shit. And there was like serious noise outside, like something like, you know, like I don't remember what it was. Like it was an argument and a lot of just like just noise that like you think like something is about to happen, right? It wasn't just like one guy that went to check what's going on. It's like, yeah, guys, I'll go check. No, all the guys left to check at the same. It wasn't even like. There wasn't even like a talk of like who's gonna go check what's going on. We literally just like, yo, what's that? Everyone just got up, let's go check it out. There wasn't a talk about it. And the women said nothing. There was like 4 women there and they just kept sitting. They ignored the noise. They're just like, no, like we're not dealing with that, right? Because the men are there, right? And yeah, there are certain roles like that. Yeah, the men will always try and take care of like stuff like that can endanger the women or themselves, obviously. But like usually, if it endangers the women or the kids, men will almost automatically will go and check what the fuck is going on. and try to protect.
What's funny is, everyone who argues against me and says men shouldn't protect women, especially all the feminists, if they were with their boyfriend and a man broke into their house, guess who they'd expect to go downstairs? Who do you think? Do they go themselves? Are they going to Afghanistan? No, we send men to do these things. So
well, we send women in the armed forces too.
You have to generalize when you make points.
There are many courageous people.
Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
No, but you've got to concede there are many courageous women serving in the armed forces.
Absolutely and utterly, completely correct.
But how many
By and
percentage-wise?
large, traditionally, soldiers are men. Exceptions do not disprove the rule.
Well, it's not an exception. It's a fact that there are a lot of women now in the armed
But
forces.
it is an
Correct.
exception.
But if
Just
you
look at the
take the average-
percentage. They're like outliers. How many women you have in the Navy SEALs? How many women do you have in the Marine Corps that are actually like in a fucking base in the middle of fucking nowhere defending a lost cause? Yeah, usually you don't see a lot of women there. Yeah, are there women in the army? Sure. Are they out there in the actual field doing all the hard shit? Maybe one or two. Compared to like every like fucking 50 men, there's maybe one woman in the field. But like, let's be real, Piers. Like, this is like, I don't like this argument. I know like what he's trying to do. I get it. And it's like you have to put this argument out there. But like, let's be real. You know what exception to the rule means.
Average soldier, they are a male. If you're allowed to say who's a male and who isn't nowadays, I'm assuming their gender. I apologize.
Similar, like when you think soldier, you think man. When you think nurse, you think woman. You know, it's like it's just how it is. Even if I feel like even if like majority of nurses are going to be men, you would still think nurse woman for some reason, because the title of a nurse, right? It's like nursing. Who nurses? Women. They nurse you back to health. Who does that? Not men usually, you know.
If you were to take the average soldier, they're a male, which means that exceptions are the female soldiers, which because there's a lower percent of them, a lower probability. Exceptions do not disprove the rules. Men do the fighting. Right now in Ukraine, men cannot leave.
Yep.
Women are allowed to leave because men have to fight in the front line and women are allowed to go to Dubai. That is how it is.
What do you say to young men who come to you for advice, who feel lost, who don't really know where they fit into?
Go to the gym.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared to do the hard work and be indefatigable enough to never quit.
Fair.
But if you're going to stand around and wait for a handout, nobody's going to ever respect you. And I think that a lot of people have forgotten about how difficult and how competitive it is as a man. We're always in constant competition with each other. And it's your duty as a man to stand up and say, I want to be as important and strong and good-hearted and God-fearing as possible. And I need to work hard to achieve those things.
David Sheila Hancock says we've become too over-emotional as a society, crying too much about everything. Has she got a point?
She's completely right. And the dangerous thing about overly emotional men is that they're dangerous. They're genuinely dangerous. This is what's crazy. All these people who talk about toxic masculinity and how bad it is for men to be traditionally masculine. A traditionally masculine man does things he doesn't feel like doing because...
By the way, if you think about it this way, like the whole like what are masculine men? You're thinking like bullies in school. Those are actually not the masculine men. The masculine men are actually the ones who will defend the people being bullied. Or like they might be peacemakers, or they might just straight up defend people who are getting bullied. Those are the masculine men. The men who are bullies, usually, even if you see how they're portrayed in movies and TV series and cartoons, stuff like that, they usually are portrayed with very, very bad emotional control compared to like the ones who are defending, and those are like the hero type. Those are the masculine men. Those are the people who you want to nurture. The bullies will always be there, but the bullies are not the masculine men. Bullying doesn't come from masculinity. If anything, bullying comes from femininity, in my opinion. Right?
His duty to do them. He charges into the building because it is his duty. Not because he feels like it, because it is his duty. We're now teaching the new generation of men that they don't have duty and they can just act on their feelings and act how they feel, and they don't have to act as a man should. Do you know what happens when you get men who just act how they feel? You get school shooters, you get violence,
rapists.
You get rapists. Men who cannot control their emotions are dangerous. If you find a man who is stoic, he's not going to hurt people. He's going to sit and think about his actions very carefully, and he's going to be a good man who protects and provides for his family. You find a man who just acts out on impulse and does whatever he feels like, you're going to find a dangerous man. Sitting here telling men to cry more and act with their feelings and it's okay to feel this way, that way, etc., and have no self-control. That is why we have the problems we have in the world. Absolutely not wrong. So when they talk about toxic masculinity, they have it completely inversed on its head, completely not wrong. We need to be teaching stoicism. You need to be teaching young men to understand that the world is very, very difficult. It's hard to be a man. You're going to feel bad sometimes. You just suck it up and perform anyway. Not to sit there and cry your eyes out or blame other people.
Tough being a woman too in modern society.
It's certainly tough being a woman, but I'm not a woman, so why would I speak on issues I do not understand?
True.
I'm a man.
You can feel an empathy for women.
I feel empathy, certainly, but I do not understand their issues.
See, a lot of men come up to me and they admire
I hate this argument where it's like you come to like somebody who, let's say, spews red pill stuff, and it's like, well, women have these issues too. But I'm not talking about women's issues. I'm talking about men issues. Men have these issues. I'm not trying to solve all the issues. I'm trying to solve the issues in this category. Don't bring other categories into my category. That's not my problem. There are other females out there. They can take care of the female stuff. I don't care. That's not my problem. I'm trying to help men. Okay? I'm trying to help out men, not women. If women want to listen, that's fine. I'm not against it. But I'm not out here. Like, my main goal is not fucking... philosophy class for women, okay? I'm bringing philosophy class for men, right? And it's like, I don't like when people bring this argument. It's like, well, women have issues too. Yeah, no shit, everyone has fucking issues, okay? We can't tackle all of them in one fucking sphere.
Say a lot of women I've spoken to don't admire. They think you represent misogyny. They think when they hear you not commit to saying the Taliban shouldn't be banning women from university education, well, why can't he just say that's wrong?
Well, firstly, that's not my experience. I experience the absolute and utter opposite of that. Secondly, it's because it's a moral point I'm making. My moral point is I speak on things I understand. I speak on experiences I've had.
But you believe in equality?
I speak on subjects I know intimately. I do not feel qualified. I'm a realist, and I do not feel qualified to sit and discuss the gender laws in Afghanistan. I have not been to Afghanistan. I have not researched the subject thoroughly. I'm not going to sit here and say how the Taliban should be running their country. It's nothing to do with me. I find it quite flattering, Piers, that although, I understand I'm monumentally influential, the most Google man on earth, etc., I find it very flattering that you think I have some kind of control over the domestic policy of Afghanistan. But I assure you I don't. I don't.
I'm not asking you to have a view on having influence of a domestic policy. I'm sure the Taliban
That's so funny.
What either of us say about it. It's just curious to me that it's an easy win for you to make women think you're not anti them, to say that when they're not given equality, as the women in Afghanistan clearly are not, because they're not allowed to go to university now, as of today, that is clearly unequal, unfair. We should all be able to agree that that is...
But it's also not equal for men. What if a man in Afghanistan wanted to just sit home and just be a house... what do you call them? House... stay-at-home dad. What if a man in Afghanistan wants to be a stay-at-home dad? Can he do that? No, he also can't do that. All right, so it's like there's no equality on both sides. You can't just say that it's not fair for women. It's also not fair for men, but no one is complaining about it not being fair for men. If anything, women probably have an easier job in Afghanistan. Yeah, they have less rights, but their job is very simple. Take care of the house, take care of the children. Man has to go to work, he has to study, he has to go to the army, he has to do this, he has to, make sure his wife is protected, which is like not all men are going to be able to do, especially against multiple other men who might do bad things to you in your house. Yeah, I'm sorry. The men also don't have it fair. Like, there's no such thing as fair.
Is wrong.
Well, certainly as a realist...
Even you, tough guy Andrew
It's
Tate.
not tough guy. I am a professional. As a professional, I can state that yes, it is not equal. Yes, it is not fair. That is obvious for anybody. I'm not saying those things are not true. What I'm saying is it's nothing to do with me.
Right, okay, but you made a concession you think is wrong then.
I said it's unequal and it's unfair.
Yeah, so wrong.
Well, perhaps.
Watch yourself, Andrew.
No, perhaps it's wrong under certain moral guidelines, but under the moral guidelines which are currently in charge of the jurisdiction of Afghanistan,
it's not wrong.
Don't believe it's wrong. It's nothing to do with me.
Well,
I'm not going to sit here and tell other countries how to run their laws. I'm going to live in societies with laws I respect.
You know what? I'll take unfair and unequal.
Sure.
Because that's self-explanatory. We're going to have a game of chess in a minute.
Not really.
You are a very good chess
player. Yeah, unfair and unequal. Yeah, it's self-explanatory. It's not bad and it's not good. It's that it is what it is. That's the world we live in. Nothing is fair, nothing is equal. It's not fair that I can't have a show like Piers Morgan. It's not fair because I don't have the voice and I don't have the charisma or anything like that. It's not fair. Like, we can go around all day, and not saying I'm jealous of Piers Morgan or anything like that. I'm just saying, life is not fucking fair. It's not fair that somebody will live a lot less, many years less than me, okay? It's not fair for that person. Like, but it is what it is, man. Life is not fucking fair. We are not born equal in the sense it's like some people are just more better adjusted for other things. Some people are going to be good at chess. Some people are going to be good at drawing. I suck at both, right? So it's like, oh, it's not fair for me to suck at both.
Chess player. I can hold my own with the chessboard. Your father was a chess international master, in fact, and we're going to have a 5-minute game of speed chess. Winner takes all, Mr. Tate. Welcome back to Piers Uncensored. Andrew Tate is still here. Andrew's father was an American chess international master, and his son's pretty good at it too. Well, I can hold my own. I was my school chess champion. And with 5 minutes left on the programme, we're going to have a game of speed chess. Winner
So
takes
2.5
all.
each,
All right, you're white.
or
Off you go.
5 minutes each.
That's
Off we
racist.
go. 5 minutes, go.
That's racist, Piers. Cancel Piers Morgan.
Okay.
Are you good, Piers?
Well,
Are you
clearly,
going to destroy me?
clearly from this opening, better than you.
Let's see, I guess, aren't we?
Okay. Let's be aggressive, shall we?
School chess champion, eh?
It's tense.
Certainly.
Lennox Lewis was better than you when I played him.
Was he?
Well, he beat me 39 times out of 40. Check.
Yeah, he is pretty good at the game, I heard.
Time to get aggressive with you, Mr. Tate. Show you a bit of toxic chess masculinity.
Well, the world's been pretty aggressive with me lately, Piers, so I'm used to it. It's fine.
I can't even take that.
Okay.
Oops, apologize.
How long we got?
Why do you think the queen?
3:45.
Why do you think the queen gets to jump across the board and the king doesn't?
Because it's sexist.
Game of chess is sexist, but perhaps it reflects life, Piers. Haven't you ever
Perhaps.
thought that when you look at a yacht in Dubai,
You're running out of time. Stop stalling. I know what you're
fine,
doing.
I'll just take your queen.
Oh, God!
I'll just take your queen.
Damn it.
I was trying to give you a little speech there. You didn't want to listen to it.
No,
I was
I
trying to
didn't.
tell you when you see a yacht in Dubai, the girl just gets an Instagram invite, gets to jump right on board. She
So
gets
listen-
to run across the board and do whatever she wants.
And
but
the
man
king
has to take her a
has
spare
to
time. The man had to buy that yacht. That's
Yeah.
the difference between being a man and being a woman. That's why the queen gets
You
to
know
do how
what?
she does.
A chivalrous man just always lets ladies go first.
Life and chess
That's why I
reflect.
let you go first.
Life and chess reflect, Piers.
I've made a catastrophic error, but I'm bouncing back.
I don't know, man. You lost your queen for free. It's kind of over.
I always accidentally take someone's chick.
3 minutes.
I don't even mean to. It's just like, oops.
That's fucking bullshitter.
You need to stop knocking my pieces over like that.
He's excited.
No,
Yeah, exactly. He's not getting in my head. They're talking to me saying you're getting in my head.
how do you think chess reflects life?
I think that it's all about strategy.
Correct.
That if you're good at chess, you can be good at pretty much anything because it's about thinking ahead, it's about planning, it's about relentless practice.
And you know what else is beautiful about chess?
That's
If you
the thing.
lose, somewhere you made a mistake. There is no luck.
Absolutely right.
In chess, even if it's the smallest mistake, somewhere it was your fault. It teaches absolute self-accountability, which
Yeah.
is something that we need a lot more of in the world today.
That is true.
And that's why chess is so important. You can take my knight if you want.
Okay.
You don't want it? Why don't
No,
you want my knight?
Because I'm playing a long game.
Ah, okay. I thought you'd want it. I'm going to leave it there in case you take it anyway.
Okay.
I'm going to go.
Because I know what you want me to do, and I'm not going to do it. Actually, I will do it now.
Okay, good. Check. 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 Check.
How long? I need to buy some time here. I need to buy some time. This is really playing well on radio, by the way.
For sure.
Thank
Damn it! I'm screwed.
I can't take it. Yeah, because
Don't say that.
How long have I
Piers.
got? 1
You need
minute
to
12.
Believe in yourself.
I never ever give up.
Believe in yourself,
I
Piers.
do believe in myself, thank you.
Self-belief is important.
I do believe in myself, but this has not gone well. You're
just
quite good at chess,
not
I'll
even
give you that.
close.
Well, in the chessboard of life, I've done pretty good. I've done okay. Check.
The question is, can you beat me in time? You've only got 50 seconds.
Check. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think you can.
Let's see.
Only if you
Piers.
delay.
Yeah, you can have that. Doesn't matter. It's mate in 2. Check. Mate. Good. Good game, sir.
Well played.
Thank you.
25 seconds away from safety.
Not bad. It's pretty
Okay,
good.
well, Andrew Tate, I'll give you something. You're good at chess.
Thank you.
You have to be. You just
That's
beat
all.
me.
That's all he'll give him. That's all he'll give him.
Internationally renowned
What has
player.
chess taught you about life, quickly?
I can teach you a lot of things. Like I said about the queen being able to run around the board, the king having to move a square at a time, about the fact you need to think ahead, absolutely everything is your fault. But there is a saying, which is actually one of my favorite sayings in the world. It said, a well-played game of chess is a sign of a gentleman, but an expertly played game of chess is the sign of a wasted life. And it's kind of sad. It was
I played Lennox Lewis on Celebrity Apprentice 39 times out of 40 in America years ago. And he beat me 39 times out of 40, I mean. And I was amazed. He was taught by his mum. But he was all about the way he fought, the way he boxed, was all down to the way he played chess.
Yeah, chess.
It was all about looking ahead, getting ahead of your opponent, planning punches, all that kind of thing.
Chess absolutely reflects life. And even I say this now in my business meetings with my team. A lot of the problem in the world today, especially with teams and businesses, et cetera, everyone wants to be the king. But if you want to have a team, if you want to have a side that wins, if you want to win a game of chess, everybody has to know their role and do their role effectively. There can be a king and a rook and a pawn and a bishop and a knight, and everyone does everything correctly. And when that happens, you have a very formidable board and you're hard to beat. And chess reflects life absolutely. It's something I do every single day.
What kind of man was your father?
He was the greatest man on the face of the planet. But luckily he had me, and now in the natural order of the universe, he is gone, and I am here, and I carry his name, and it is my duty to bring honor to him. And this is one of the greatest things about achievement, because achievement honors your ancestors. People talk about my father because of how successful I am, and people will talk about me into eternity, even after my death, because of how successful my son will be. This is the great thing about achievement. It's an honor to your ancestors.
What would he have made of your success, your father?
He would be extremely underwhelmed by it, because he always expected it of me. I am Emery Andrew Tate III. I can do whatever I put my mind to. And he would be like, well, of course, you decided you wanted to become the most famous man on the planet. It took you a few months, of course.
Does your mother ever do what my mother does, occasionally go, I think you went too far there?
My mother has absolute trust in my abilities and capabilities. She says, be careful, do your best.
It is kind of funny what he says, because this happens in my family too, where the mom is really defensive of the son trying to do more than she thinks he's capable of. Like, overly protective, basically, is probably the word I would say. There's also this saying where it's like a mom would poison her child just so she can take care of him forever. There is a saying like that, and that's kind of fucked up, but you can see that aspect happening over and over, not with straight up poison, it's a metaphor, but yeah.
That wasn't the question.
That's what she says. She says, be careful.
Does she ever say you shouldn't have said that?
Nah, she knows better than that.
Really?
No, never. She says, just be careful. You know what you're doing. It's kind of hard to argue against me.
Yep.
This is what my haters seem to struggle with. It's hard to argue against a person who is monumentally successful in every single human metric that can possibly be measured. This is why young men respect me so much.
Would you ever tell your mother what to do?
They want to be my life.
Do you ever tell her what to do?
I don't need to. She's a full-grown woman.
Would you ever tell her what to do?
I would give her my advice if she asked for it.
You say you
I'd give her my
can't leave
opinion.
the home, you can't drive, all those things you joke about? Or?
I'd give her my opinion. I would say perhaps you should move house now, or perhaps that's not safe, or yeah, I would absolutely, because I'm responsible for her safety. And when you're responsible for somebody's safety, you have an opinion, and you need to have a firm opinion on that subject. So completely. For any woman I'm responsible for any woman I'm responsible for her safety, I will sit and say, that's an unsafe thing to do.
How much are you worth?
I'm a billionaire by now.
Dollars or pounds?
About dollars. We're not in pounds yet, but we'll get there.
So what to do?
Yeah, we have a little bit of work to do, but it's
Finally, I know you don't know anything about football and care even less, but greatest of all time, Ronaldo or Messi?
They're both two very hardworking men, and I have absolute respect for anybody on earth who dedicates themselves to this.
Andrew Tate, thank you very much indeed. That's it for tonight. Keep it uncensored.
A lot of
Thank you very much
dodging the
tonight.
question, but whenever he's forced to pick a side, he will give you a political answer because he doesn't want to pick a side, because it's probably something he doesn't want to talk about, or probably something he doesn't care about. It's like the whole Ronaldo or Messi is like, bruh, I don't care about football that much, or soccer, or whatever. So I don't care about that much. So like, I think they're both hardworking men. Like, I don't give a shit. That's basically what I take from a lot of his answers. But yeah, anyways, that's actually like, in my opinion, this interview was better on some levels. It was less offensive, less aggressive by Piers Morgan, for sure. It was a lot friendlier interview. The first one, however, oh my god, bro. First one was fucking brutal. Like, half of it, like, Andrew Tate was too quiet, and the other half is like, okay, I had enough. Like, you're going too hard on me and shit. And he went ham on him. But yeah. Anyways, fun little interview. And again, I am not against most stuff that Andrew Tate says. I know a lot of stuff he says are a bit more on the extreme side. Don't necessarily agree with him, but it's fine. We're both human. I don't think he's doing anything that he believes in. I don't think he's doing it maliciously. It's something that he actually believes in. I don't think he's misogynistic in a completely negative way. He might be misogynistic in the sense that it's like, this is the deal you get when you are in a relationship with me, and hey, you can sign up for the deal or you can't. Like, I mean, like, I don't think that's a problem. Is he a misogynist? I wouldn't, like, yes, but not in, like, the full-on negative way that people are portraying, as if, like, he hates women. And I think, like, that's really what misogyny, when people are using it, what it kind of portrays. People are saying, like, oh, you hate women. It's like, no, I don't hate women, but I expect something from my women when they're in a relationship with me. And hey, if you don't do it, we can just be not in a relationship, and that's fine. Like, I don't think he cares about it to that extent that people are caring about him being a misogynist. Anyways, that's it for the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.